Good afternoon. We are live. We're on. Oop.
Wonderful.
Let's see if I can get us both in the screen at the same time.
Sounds good to me. Well, welcome everybody. As Tracy's working out the technology piece, I'm sure that we're going to have a great time to connect together and share some wonderful dialogue about how to make communication safe, as well as just get some wisdom and insights into our current condition, because we are struggling a bit. Our habit patterns have been changing, and that's why we're doing these things, is to get people used to the changes in how to deal with our own transition, and as our mind goes through the changes that we're going through, because it is a little bit dicey. Isn't that right, Tracy? It's a little bit of a struggle.
Absolutely, because we're all concerned, I believe, about talking to our families and our financial situations and certainty for the future. And this time we really wanted to delve into how to safely communicate with people's perspectives and strong points of views.
Right.
And the financial shutdown piece, how to establish trust. These types of things, reconstruction of our economy, are going to be all things that we have to address. And so we're going to get right into it. Those of you who may not know who Bill Sturley is, he's an international communication specialist, speaker, and podcaster. And throughout this conversation, we'll put some links in the chat so you can go find more information about him and how to connect with him. But tonight we're just going to go ahead and go through these things and let us explore this and talk about it, open the conversation. So Bill, have at it. I'm going to scoot off over here into the corner.
That sounds great, Tracy. Thank you very much. And as somebody that communicates and provides people support to reduce conflict, a lot of it has to do with language and the way we're perceiving and being in the world, and creating the space between the stimulus and the response really can make a big difference for us. And if we are going to have a straight talk about emotion, then we've also got to make sure that we're moving the conversation forward with the person we're speaking with. Otherwise, we're just ruminating and telling the story about the pain that we're feeling, not really worried about what the listener is taking on. So, for example, I was in a grocery store a little earlier today, and I had my face mask on. I believe most or almost all people in this specific grocery store had their face mask on. And as I was coming down one of the aisles, a woman who had her face mask on was talking to a grocery person and telling the story about how she was in a grocery store where 5 people did not have their masks on, and how angry she was about that. Now, it was not a productive conversation, other than she was offloading her emotions in his direction. What is he going to do? He moved into a place of agreement, because he's not going to move into the opposite direction, because she had a point of view and an emotional upset. So the big thing is, what is then, emotional straight talk? How can we talk to people straight about something, be in action, be in compassion with somebody that's upset, and then slow down the process of how we react, and at the same time de-escalate the person that we're listening to. So a big part of the things that I teach in my private coaching practice, as well as with groups, is to here are some words and phrases that'll be very, very helpful for you to reduce these things. But the main thing is that as we're facing this thing regarding the coronavirus, we've got to be ready to shift our mentality a little bit. We've been scared and nervous and anxious. And if we are going to create a mental pivot, here are some points that we may want to think about. Is realize that we have certain beliefs that might be a curse or a spell that either causes us to be very safe or causes us to be overprotective or causes us to be judgmental about what we're observing in the environment. 5 people in this family didn't have their face masks on. I'm guessing she's going for safety and protection. And there's just a little bit of salt and pepper in dealing with the pain and the suffering that she's going through. The main thing is that our emotional experience is affecting trust. Because if you can imagine, trust with that woman is not very high. So a big part of it, and Tracy, you and I have talked about this before, is not only is there a financial shutdown, but there's an emotional shutdown that's taking place. And if anybody has any questions or comments or has some thoughts about, here's how I'm emotionally shutting down, what I'm going to do about it. Here's what's happening to me financially. What can I do about that? How can I restore my own motivation to go out and do stuff? How can I establish a new habit pattern that is not the way it was in the past? Many of us have been overworking for years.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what we were talking about before we got on the call was that people now have been forced to slow down. And some people are saying, wow, I kind of like this slowdown. I'm not so sure that, why do I need to buy that shirt? Or why do I need to do this? I'm actually pretty happy right now in certain aspects, right?
Right. What is the big deal about my kid getting a new shirt? They don't seem to mind. They're not really fully connected to the new shirt. Why am I getting that new shirt? Just because it looks good? And oh, by the way, don't they already have 5 similar shirts in their dresser drawer? It's a little head shaker, but a big part of capitalism is buy, and how can I be enticed to buy more? It's not necessarily to meet our own needs as much as to meet the need of the seller.
Well, and there's 2 sides to this too, Bill, because, the people that are on the call listening, there might be some people that are employees and there might be some people that are business people. And on both sides, there's 2 different ways of looking at it, right? Because the financial shutdown aspect of it, if people aren't purchasing or have changed their buying habits, that's going to affect the employers, the people who are giving them jobs, or the business owners who own a business, right?
That's correct. It's going to affect how many restaurants will survive. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just picking the low-hanging fruit, but then it's how many retailers will survive. Now, all of a sudden, how much commercial real estate is going to survive? All of a sudden, I'm taking out 3 major sectors right now of our economy, because do I need to really spend, $50 or $60 in California for sushi for 4? It's like, oh my gosh, maybe not. Or sushi for 3. I don't want to work that hard to make the money to buy that. Maybe I'll teach my kids how to make sushi. It's a funny thing to say, but that seems like a little bit more economical to do.
Well, out here in Georgia, where I am, we have like the Georgian Club and things like this. Right. The Georgian Club, who's been around for years, they're closing their doors. Ruby Tuesdays up in the area, because like the Chick-fil-A's and the McDonald's and those people, they've been doing takeout. They've been able to handle, people still can get their food. But the Ruby Tuesdays and those type of places that were like relying on in-person dining,
right?
The people have changed their habits.
They're not used to it, and their habit patterns have changed, and they're going to go for flexibility, but realizing that it's only the people that have a habit pattern of already doing it are going to be engaged in the process. We do get ourselves stuck. I mean, and how do we support each other moving through and beyond the feelings of worried, confused, anxious, nervous, and scared. Our emotional loads are very, very high. They're keeping us at the starting line. And that's what's so funny about this person, Tracy, when we picked this picture of this runner at the starting line with the mask on, I'm going like, how do we start getting on this race, and what race is it? Because the rat race has been a bit exhausting.
Well, there's a marathon that we didn't sign up for. I mean, it's just not something I signed up for. I don't think I would. And I think that there are a lot of people that probably, feel somewhat similar to that,
If you don't have any money in your pocket, or if you had money that somebody has given you and it's in your pocket, that money gets, the money that somebody's given to you gets spent. Well, if I got money and I've been handed to you, and I'm going to go spend it, well, I want a store to be open so I can spend this money. That's a little bit of the backlash that we're experiencing right now, is that people are saying, I got my check, I want to go spend it on a haircut and other things. Because what am I supposed to do with this money value? And capitalism puts a lot of pressure on the value of things. I'm going to get this thing.
So how do we progress forward? How do we walk through this with empathy and, for ourselves and for the situation that we're in?
Well, I think that's the first part about it, is that we've got to pick the issue. It's like we got to pick the issue of, are we going to stay at home? Are we going to go at work? Do we even get that choice? The people that are doing a little bit better from the gig economy place is, and what I mean by doing better, they're used to their job being volatile, not stable. The people that are used to their jobs being stable are struggling a little bit because they're waiting for their check next week. And all the people that thought that they were signing up for a stable job because they had this role in this company, all of a sudden, their job stability, the thing that they've built trust around, the thing they've invested stability in, is not available at this moment. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not. So Alicia says, how do we comfort ourselves when others, especially in our own home, go on and on about how the economy is going to collapse? Do I comfort them or do I comfort myself? I get more scared than they seem to be when they do that.
Well, that's right. The scared is the right emotion. I tend to put the oxygen mask on myself, like in the airplanes, the oxygen mask drops down. I tend to put the oxygen mask on myself, and I'll do it silently. If somebody's freaking out or saying something that's not true, I'll breathe and go, okay, that person's in pain. It's not mine. They need certainty. They need trust. That gives me my 2 talking points. What does certainty look like to you? What does trust look like to you? And most of the time, 50% of the time, you will get back, I don't know. And that's why they have so much pain. It's because they don't know what trust looks like, and they don't know what certainty looks like. And, Alicia, it is a head shaker because this person might have a amount of anger and bluster and point of view and definitiveness about the world's falling apart. But meanwhile, it's their need for stability, their need for certainty, their need for trust that they're just struggling with that. And to even make it a little bit worse, if the person has struggled with certainty and struggled with trust in the past, all the errors of our childhood and our past experiences come racing forward into this very focused moment. And it looks like they're complaining about the economy, but they're complaining about not having trust from the distant past. They're complaining about not having stability from the distant past. It's not true in this moment, but their adult mind struggles to get a hold of the emotion that has been still being held molecularly in their body. I mean, it's weird. There's 297 neuropeptides in the body. These molecules of emotion are sloshing around. And if you don't know what need is causing it, roller coaster, angry, worried, scared, nervous, the language, blame, shame, guilt, judgment, criticism. Oh my gosh, how are we going to get through this? And that's the thing to actually kind of get a hold of is how do we take the first step to get through it?
And then you add in the financial piece, and that piece right there will shake the foundation of almost anybody if they don't know how they're going to proceed, right?
That's right. So the first step is to divide the narrative. See if the pain is a physical concern or see if the pain is a financial concern. You got to like pick the target because they'll flip-flop, whoever the person is. They'll bounce. So are you scared about money stability, or are you worried and anxious about health concerns? Which one is it? So I know what boxing ring I'm getting I'm getting in the ring with here.
Now I turned off your screen, but if you want to use your screen.
Yeah, I got to put my screen back on. So let me do that. So thank you for that. I forgot about that little detail. So divide the narrative. Is this a virus conversation or is this a money conversation? Is that better? Does that make sense? All right.
Yes.
What are the physical concerns? Safety, clarity, truth, certainty. Our current governmental messages are not very good there, because otherwise safety would look like here are the cities or areas that we have a good deal of safety and certainty around. Here's the clarity with the testing. Here's the truth we have about contact tracing, and we're working our way to certainty. Please trust this message. Did everybody see that I just walked down that list?
Yes.
Okay. And then some of you felt calmer as I did it. Okay. Which is, here's what's safety. This is what we're doing to get safety. Here's what we're doing to get clarity with the numbers. Here's the truth the way we're seeing it right now. Here is what certainty has shown up at. Gosh, can you give us trust? But if you put trust at the top of this list, it does not go well. It's trust us. You see how that doesn't work? If somebody starts at the beginning of trust us because we're really good and we've done a great job is not a strong narrative. It doesn't matter if you've done a good job because you haven't provided a message of safety, a message of clarity, and a message of truth that we can be certain about. Of course, if we move over to consideration of others, then it's, I need to protect my family. I want to care for my relatives and friends. I want stability in my community. I want my need for family to be met. That's why we're all staying at home, is we're meeting the need for family. We're protecting the community at large, and things go better.
Now, Rick has stuck something in here. He said, what happens when all your favorite places are gone?
That is a great deal of sadness, because then what we're doing is we're mourning things. We're mourning the loss of my favorite thing, because we connected there. We had memories there. We were looking to have more experiences there. You know, all I would need to do is, talk to my boys and say, well, guys, I'm just want to take a moment to mourn that trip we had planned to Disneyland. We had to cancel because the conference I was speaking at canceled, and the hotels got canceled, and the whole park shut down. And meanwhile, we're going to spend spring break there. We had it all planned out. We're primed to go. I had the hotel room things. They were going to bring some of their friends, and we've got to mourn that experience or that thing. And then we've got to look for ways to create the connection that we would like to get it to go forward. Okay. Makes sense?
Yes.
So
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry.
You came in and went out.
Yeah, I came in and went out. Well, I was just going to say, when you were talking about Disneyland today, I saw on Facebook this little boy dressed in a Mickey Mouse costume, and his dad underneath the camera was doing the phantasmic, the light display with the water spray, and he was pretending he was like guiding the magic brooms and all of that. And it was so sweet. The story just, people are making it fun for their children, even though they're having to go without and mourn those things. So they're recreating things to make it fun for their kids. I just thought of that when you were talking.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I just posted a video from Juilliard, the school in New York, the performance arts school, where they did this. All these different dancers and all these different students and all these different musicians were at home, and they all put like this big video together they were all dancing and playing music, and they were putting this big show together, and it was on a, like, I don't know, it was just delightful. And they were all stuck at home. And they were all like dancing at home, and they were all playing music at home, and they were all, as it looks like they were getting back outside, they went outside, but then they came back in, and there was dramatic music as the garage door opened, and they were walking outside. It's just the best thing ever, and the creativity and the activity, they're still getting their needs met in the current condition. Still getting their needs met.
It's all about perspective, because there's another one that I saw where this lady got her entire neighborhood together, and they had dance-offs out in front of their house where she was in the car and she was the judge, and they taped them driving down the neighborhood, and they were all doing these. They were all social distanced away from each other, but the whole families planned on these different dance moves and things, and they did it for like 10-15 minutes, went down, and everybody, awesome. they were really excited. So it's all about the way you look at it.
It is. Even with the need for choice, having some being compromised, because you're meeting the need for protection and consideration for the community ahead of choice. So that's a very powerful sentence. I am choosing to meet the need for consideration ahead of the need for choice or independence. So there's going to be a time where half of the grocery store is going to have masks on, and the other half is not going to have masks on. The question is, will the mask people be angry at the non-mask people, just like this woman was today, and express themselves tragically about this? Or the unmasked people make a comment to the masked people, this is all a hoax, you've been taking in how stupid you are for wearing the mask. Notice the judgment.
I feel unsettled by that entire language because we've talked about not doing the push me pull you, and oh, my stomach just churns
It
when you
got
do
turned,
that.
didn't it?
Oh, it
Yeah,
totally got turned.
it's really upsetting.
Yeah.
It's really upsetting. So the scary honesty is, listen, I'm choosing to protect me and you, whether you choose to get freedom. It is. And now that I see that you're choosing to exercise your independence, I'm going to choose to walk in the other direction. No judgment. I'm meeting my need for safety and protection for you.
And not
Now, but
escalating it. And not
and
escalating
not
it.
escalating it. Then you could also say to the person that says it's a hoax, you say, gosh, I really feel scared about you having that thought. I was wearing this mask to protect you because I've had a bad cough and I wanted to make sure you didn't catch it. But now that you're close to me, I guess, the risk is over. It's like,
Rip it off. Rip it off.
that's so funny. That's not on this session, but it's very funny. It's like, hey, you want truth or you want fairness? You gotta work at being at the center of this place.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful. You gotta make sure you don't bite on somebody else's illusion, even if it's not the truth for you. It doesn't mean it's not the truth for them.
Right.
So, see, I feel exasperated because the level of bias and fallacies that are being communicated as people are trying to build a case about why they're right. That's the thing that gets me upset. They build a case. They find one example. And they say this example is a representative, but not only that, it is a bigger representative than really what it is. I don't see any of this. I don't see anything happen in the emergency room at my hospital. This one hospital reported back, it's in a major city, that their emergency room is empty. What the person doesn't know is that they're not bringing the COVID people through the emergency room. They're bringing them directly to an isolated wing. So the emergency room is not going to see those people. Some emergency rooms are doing that. But the person's belief structure, what I see, is my reality.
And it goes both ways. I mean, what is really the truth? The perspectives are different. And I mean, Bill, you and I have had conversations because we think differently, but
right.
We get along together because we go from that truth area and don't go into the judgment and pushing and pulling you.
Yeah, that's the way you see it, and it's the way I see it. And there's a partial truth that you see, and there's a partial truth that I see. And if I'm seeing something the one way and you're seeing it another way, it doesn't mean that we have to be enemies or
right. It doesn't mean you're wrong and I'm right, or the other way around. It doesn't.
No. And you could be sitting with research I haven't seen yet, and I could be sitting with research or truth that you haven't seen yet.
Mm-hmm.
Again, why do we keep cranking down on these things? Well, the reason why a human being cranks down on this is because human beings have a desperate need for certainty. There's a certain desperation and fear and scarcity around certainty. We all know that our life ends, but by golly, we don't want it to be in the next minute. Right? So we create a reality that we have certainty.
I'm going to share with the folks your YouTube channel where you've got your Purchasing Truth, lots of your podcasts that you do, and also a lot of these talks that we've been doing online because we've got about 10 minutes left. But you can go through there and watch some of these things and really get a feel for how Bill is using empathy on an everyday basis and how to break it down and understand.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And this is one way you can have a free resource to go watch Purchasing Truth. There's some business things on there. There's some political things on there. There's some health things on there so that you can say, well, this is what this person's point of view is. And I can see what they're going for there. But at the same time, I'm seeing it as a little bit narrower than I would like it to be. And then there's moments where I go, wait a minute, I need to broaden my viewpoint. Now, the slide that I've just put up right now has to do with how we can use emotions to serve us. How do we use emotions to serve us? Because if I'm feeling bored, exasperated, or numb, if I'm feeling unsettled, worried, or anxious, if I have the moments of frustrated, irritated, annoyed, or somebody says something to me and then I feel hesitant or torn or confused, my thoughts can either reduce it at that point or escalate it below the double line. My thoughts can do that. All I got to do is think a chunky thought, and I could just get on the slide and slide all the way down. And I want to use emotions to help me, to guide me to what is really causing my body as a human being to move forward. Well, my emotional elephant brain that has a lot of habit and memory is different than the front part of my brain, which is like this little rider with a stick. Very, very challenging. So, how do we talk to ourselves and talk to others and be able to, as the writer, give the listener ourselves, give the listener other people short, specific requests? Give them a needs direction. Listen, information would look like this to me. Here's what clarity looks like this to me. Here's what support would make a difference for me. See, notice it's short. Here's what this need is. I want to tap the elephant gently on the head. I could yell and scream at him and try to hit him with a stick, but the chances of that elephant throwing me off are kind of pretty high. So I want to gently take it and say to myself, wait a minute, I got to get this elephant to move on my behalf. So what is my feeling? How can I get safety in it? Is this thing relevant? So in California, I just saw the thing that the hiking trails are going to be open. Awesome. Do we think that there's going to be some people on the hiking trails with masks and some people that are not going to have masks? The answer would be clearly yes. Both of those things are going to happen. Masks, no masks. Are people going to have their masks only when they're crossing each other? And then when they're far enough away, they pull their mask down because it's a little harder to breathe through a mask when you're hiking. That answer is probably going to be yes. Probably because the elephant brain wants to return to the habit of hiking without a mask on. But also, the elephant brain wants safety, so it's going to pull the mask off just enough to get the need for protection 10 feet before they meet the person and 10 feet after they've left the person behind. Just see how the habit pattern is going to change. It gets really funny because in this moment, you can see that we're going to be situationally managing the obstacle. We're going to be firefighting the old self that says, wait a minute, the lockdown hasn't really been fully lifted. Hold on a second. I have an elderly parent at home, or I'm visiting my grandpa later. I am not going to do hiking because I have a need for safety. There's choice. That's a meaningful challenge. That is a fulfilling vision. I'm going to make a decision to meet my needs.
And once you get that engaged, one of the things that I had a difficult time, to be honest with you, Bill, understanding this elephant rider thing initially. But now every time I feel myself like kind of feeling like I'm digging my heels in, like I picture the elephant's bottom sitting on the ground and you trying to move the elephant. And that once you are scared enough or your feelings have kicked in where you're just that safety and protection and those things are kicking in, it just digs in. It's like, yeah, right. I'm not moving anywhere.
I'm not moving. The elephant
That
sits down.
helped me understand more of what you're talking about when you go here and here.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. The front part of the brain's the rider, the back part of the brain is the elephant. The emotional part of the brain will cause the person to drop into habit, will cause the person to drop into protection, will cause the person to sit down because it's too scary, it's not relevant, I'm not validating it. So, both of my boys are homeschooling. They're sitting down on their work, not fully engaging. Their elephant is barely moving because they haven't had practice working from home, for 4 or 6 hours a day to both do homework and both do classes. They have no elephant experience in that at all. Guess what they do? The minimal that's required and a little bit less than that. This is not a particularly successful strategy for their brain. But as a dad, I need to take the little stick and tap their elephant brain on the right and left. Not too hard, not too soft, but just enough to say, hey, I was curious about those 2 assignments that you're behind. Would you be willing to tell me what your thought is about getting them completed? I'm trying to get their elephant to stand up because they're going like, I don't think so. I don't think I want to do that at all.
I like how you use the word "I'm curious." The "I'm curious" part, or how can I be a good support for you, or these different things. The phrases that you use are really great to open people up in a soft, gentle way that they want to talk to you.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
did move your screen down again so I could see you telling that story.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
So, as we, kind of are wrapping up our session here a little bit, is there any questions or comments? Because I can put another slide up about needs and how do we get needs met and how to talk about that. But I also don't want to short us on questions or insights or what you've gained from this this session today, because there are a different set of needs that can be activated at any time. So we want to pay attention to those.
And we'll give them some time to enter those. But you know what I'm seeing a lot of in the chat, Bill, is thanks. A lot of people are saying thank you for the good work. Thank you for the information. Thank you for doing this. What is that need is filling, you're filling some need.
That's correct. Their need for learning, their need for information, clarity is a high need. The need for freedom can also be a need. It's like, how can I choose to do this, and engage this process in a better way? We're going to be making this video available. You can watch it again, to get, as well as some of the other videos that we've done before.
On the YouTube, right down there in the link in the chat. Click on there and bookmark it.
Great. So on the link, go ahead and take the YouTube channel and stick it in your calendar, and then go there, watch a video or two, like, subscribe to the channel, because I'm always approaching this thing in a new way, one way that kind of broadens our perspective, expands truth to be fuller, and go, this is the way human beings are meant to speak, one that's more compassionate, more supportive. And as that, kind of, compassion and support, is articulated, there can be a really big difference that can kind of show up. We can, really take the time to say to ourselves, how can I get my need met in a life-serving way? And what requests do I make of the world, to get it to go better?
I noticed also our language is cleaned up. We don't have as much sloppy language happening, and judgmental language. We start noticing judgments and we
That's
stop and
correct.
pause. I'll go ahead and add that YouTube link again so that you have it, that people are asking. Yep.
Great. And in this, in this recording, I wanted to stick this little chart up here too, which is, how can I work this out as I'm gaining my own skill and mastery about writing down my experience or thought, identifying what that need is that's causing it, clarifying the feeling that I'm experiencing inside myself, and then make a request, set an intention, and I in the grocery store, I could have stopped in the grocery store when that woman was somewhere about 3 minutes into her monologue about how this family didn't wear masks, and just turned to her and said, listen, I'm guessing you felt scared and you wish everyone was as safe and considered as you are. Is that correct? She would have said yes, because she was in such pain about safety, such pain about consideration, awareness, and she was doing her best, complaining to offload her pain, but her pain was broken into 3 words: safety, consideration, and awareness. And she would like other people to do the same. So I feel more compassion towards her in that moment. And now I feel compassion for the poor worker at the at the grocery store who was stuck not knowing how to be compassionate to her, and all he was forced to do was agree and listen to her pain just so that he could have emotional safety. And yes, he's sort of comforting, but he's also absorbing some of the emotion,
The pain, right?
the pain and the suffering that she's experiencing. So those are some things that, we are all in this together. We all need to think of ourselves as we're this school of fish that we're gaining our community of awareness, having supportive and safe communication skills. And when we do these webinars coming up, feel free to forward, the email invitation to others. So what winds up happening is we're able to build the community, because then we get people listening to us in a new way. That's going to make a big difference. Okay, so with the last couple of minutes we have here, let's do some celebratable moments. What was one thing that made a difference, that maybe created an impact for you, that you say, wow, that was something that made a difference? What was one thing that you learned here online that did something? So Tracy, you get to start, and then people get to type some things in the chat box. And what was one thing that you really liked? Maybe there was a slide, maybe there was a story that you liked. So
I really adore the fact that when you started using some of the old phraseology that would be going on around me, and my stomach turned, and I recognized it right away, and I said, how do I stop that piece from proceeding into my my pain circle? I basically I was able to stop it and say, okay, this is a phrase that I don't have to take on that pain. And so that's a big piece for me, because in my past, a lot of the things, sloppy language, judgments, those would come in, I would take them in as if they were mine.
That's right. That's right.
Alicia says, if we empathize with others, we do not take on their pain.
Right. We hand it right back to them. That's a good one, Alicia. That's great. It's like, oh, so you were feeling scared and you had a need for safety. Yep. Is that correct? Yes, they say. So you're feeling angry and you had a need for being heard. Yes. Well, let me hear you again, so I make sure I get it this time. In other words, we always get to swim with the school of fish here. You want to turn a little right? Okay, I'll turn a little right with you, but I'm not going to take on your pain, and I'm most certainly not going to get eaten by you.
Right. And
So
and we need more of that. And I know it's
that's right.
7:30 and we need to allow people to get on with their day, but I know it's what time over there? Is it 4:30 your time, Pacific?
That's right. That's correct. That's
So they're
correct.
going to be heading home. So think about this. I mean, listen for those judgments and those different things
That's
and
right.
stop and empathize. Find out, like Bill said, the feeling and the need, what
Yep.
shows up, and empathize with it.
Yep. Tracy, thanks a lot for setting this up. We'll do it
You're
again real
welcome.
soon. And everybody, watch for your emails. And it's always about learning new skills and unique ways to language things in the face of conflict. Okay?
Yeah, we'll
So
post this on Facebook. We'll get it up on YouTube, and you
awesome.
guys can enjoy it later. So thank you so much, everybody. Bye, Bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.